Hi and welcome to this crow pose tutorial. We're going to go through a few warm-ups that can set your core and your body up for the pose, and then I'll take you through a few tips step by step so that hopefully you can find that one thing or two things maybe that's missing for you in your crow pose to achieve the pose. If you have a block and a strap or something that can simulate a block and a strap, I will go through at the very end of this tutorial how to utilize the props to assist you and maybe make you feel a little bit more confident when you try the arm balance. But for now, we can put that away and we're going to come into our warm-ups. So there's a few things I'll be talking about in this tutorial, and the first one I want to address is this push of the floor. Right, so in this pose, we really need to push the floor away, contract the chest, contract the core, and dome the upper back, curve the spine. So to set ourselves up for that nicely, you can come on two hands and knees, and we're just going to do some scapula push-ups. So here, sink in between the shoulder blades, and then push the floor away. It really separates the shoulder blades apart, yeah, and then do that again, sinking down. Push the floor, contract the chest, feel your chest muscles working here, and the shoulder blades splaying wide apart. One more time, down and up. If you want to try that in your plank pose to activate your core as well, let's do 3 here as well, coming down and up, and 2, and up, last one, and up, and plant your knees down. So that'll teach your body to push the floor away and really contract the chest. Now, I mentioned it briefly, but the other thing that needs to contract is the core. We need a lot of core in this position. So we're gonna do one exercise to warm up the core and get it ready. So exactly what you did before, do the push of the floor. Feel the shoulder blades separating here. Tuck your toes under and then hover the knees just off the floor. We hold here a little bit, keeping that push. Be aware of yourself sinking down here. Separating the shoulder blades, belly button in. Now, we're going to pick up one leg off the floor, send the knee high up into the armpit, and then bringing it down. Let's go on the other side. Pick up the other leg, send the knee high up into the armpit. You can lift the hips to do that, and then bring it down. Let's do it 2 more times on each side. One leg off. Lift the hips, knee into the armpit, and then down, and the other side, lift, and down. Last time, knee up into the armpit, touch, and down, and up, and touch, and down. Relax. Okay, our chest is ready, our core is ready. There is one more thing or 2 more things missing here before we get into the actual pose. Another very important part of this is the counterbalance, right? Because the hips are a very heavy body part. Once we lift the feet off the floor, we want to avoid the hips falling down. And to do that, we need to counterbalance the weight on the other side. So, coming back into your plank pose, here. Just shifting the weight forward and back, and forward and back. So, moving the shoulders past the fingertips when you go forward on the diagonal. The next time you come forward, you hold it here, push the floor, lift the lower belly up and in, and then come back. Look at the diagonal in front of you. So don't drop your head down. Keep your neck long, looking at the diagonal on your mat. Come forward again, hold. Keep your gaze steady, and back, and drop the knees. So there is a lot of pressure on the wrist. So go through my wrist warm-up tutorial maybe before getting into these arm balances. Another thing that I'm gonna address is the hand grip. So let's say this is the floor. Once your hand goes flat on the floor, you want to push the fingertips in so that the middle joint here lifts off slightly. It just gives you a bit of leeway if you're finding yourself off balance, right? So that you can use the fingers to regain balance, just like your toes would do if you fall forward or you get forward momentum, your toes grip the floor. So there's sort of you can imagine that you're in the sand, right? That might help the psyche as well if you get scared of face planting. That you're in the sand and you grab a hold of a palm full of sand here. So you really want to dig your fingertips in. Okay, now we're going to actually try the pose. So starting on your tippy toes, there's many ways to get into this, but we're going to start from the ground and work our way up. Spreading the fingers as wide as you can. Place the index finger forward. So we have a little bit of an outward rotation here in the shoulder. And then ground the fingertips into the floor, just like I mentioned before. The hips are going to go up really high. Walk the toes towards your hands. Bend the elbows back. Put the knees inside of the armpit as much as you can. And this is the lean forward, look forward, pick up one leg, maybe the other leg, and then down, release. Okay, so that was pretty much straight into it. Now let's troubleshoot some of these things that usually happen. We went through the push of the hands, but another thing that is super important for this pose to work is that the elbows bends backwards. Very often they go sideways and there can be a strength issue, but very often it's just being aware of the fact that your elbows has to bend back. So once I come into this position and I bend my elbows, they don't splay out to the side and I have no platform to place my knees upon. Or what happens is my knees goes really wide and I end up in this sort of frog position here, really close to the floor, where the hips are dropped and I'm just sort of floating on my elbows. So it's not that strong arm balance that we're looking for, right? Elbows back, hugging them in. This is another chest activator, hugging elbows in, pushing the floor, okay? Another thing that needs to hug in is the knees, as I just demonstrated before. The elbows might go back, but if the knees are not hugged in, we end up here. So as I place my knees inside of my armpit or very high on the tricep, I hug the knees in as well, okay? So they don't slide out to the side, melting my hips down. Push the floor, knees into the armpits, hugging elbows in, hugging knees in, and hugging the core. So where is that activation in the core here? Now I have to look towards the front of my mat and reach the crown of my head forwards so that I can counterbalance the weight of my hips and my feet in the position. That's a lot of information. Take it step by step if you like. I'm gonna go through this with the props so that you can have a little bit of support if you like. If you have a strap, grab it and loop it to shoulders distance apart. If you don't have a strap, you can use a belt or anything else you can tie around your elbows that's not stretchy. Okay, so we want it to be nice and firm. And I'm gonna wrap that around my elbows, and it's gonna assist me bending my elbows back in space and hindering them from splaying out. And also, if it is a strength issue, it's gonna make them feel a lot more secure in this position, so they're not all wobbly and shaky. Okay, so exactly the same entrance here. Fingers wide, index finger forward, hips up high. Now my elbows are gonna bend back and they feel really nice and supported here. They will not splay out sideways. Lift the knees into the armpit, lift the core, contract the chest, look forward, lean forward, push the fingertips into the floor, maybe lift the feet off the floor, and float if you can. The block can be used on your forehead. It's a little bit of a fake support because we get 3 points of contact with the floor, but it can still be helpful just to gain courage. If it's courage you're missing, the block can be a nice friend to support you here. So as you lean forward, put the forehead on the floor and then see if you can get your feet off. Now just a little note here. When we practice arm balancing, face planting is almost inevitable, okay? I've been there many times. In a position like crow pose, your head is very close to the floor, about this high, right? About the length of your forearm. So that is as far as you're gonna fall if that were to happen. So you probably won't hurt anything else but your pride and ego, okay? Maybe put down a pillow or a blanket here so that your face can land softly if that's the reason that you cannot do that last little lean forward to lift your legs off the floor. I think that was it. Thank you so much for doing my tutorial. Let me know how you go, or if any of these tips helps you to get up there and stay there for the first time. I would love to know. Maybe tag me on my socials or send me an email. It would be really great for me to know that you're trying and that you're achieving by the help of these little tips that I had to share today. So hopefully I'll see you in one of my classes another time. Thank you very much.